You ever listen to economists talk about money and just feel completely lost? Yeah, me too sometimes. They have this whole other language. But what if I told you there's a simple, single key that unlocks what they're really talking about? Well, today, we're going to find that key. Right off the bat, you hear stuff like M1, M2, M3. I mean, what is that? Is it a secret code? Well, kinda. But trust me, by the end of this, you're gonna know exactly how to crack that code. And more than that, you're gonna see our whole financial system in a totally new light. So before we can get into all the different ways to count money, we gotta go back to square one. We need to get on the same page about what money is. It sounds super simple, right? But the answer is actually the foundation for everything. So let's start right there. At its heart, you can just think of money as a tool. That's it. A special tool we all agree on to make trading stuff easier. I mean, it saves us from having to figure out how many chickens a loaf of bread is worth. But, and this is where it gets really interesting, it turns out there are two completely different kinds of tools we use as money, and they are not created equal. Okay, this right here, this is the first big idea you need to grab onto. It's the key to the whole puzzle. Every asset we use as money falls into one of two camps. It's either a real asset or a financial asset. Understanding the difference between these two is absolutely critical. So on one side, you've got real assets. These things just are. They stand on their own. They aren't a debt somebody owes. But on the other side, you've got financial assets. And these are basically just promises, an IOU. They only have value because they represent someone else's debt to you. Let's make this way more concrete with a couple of quick examples. Okay, think about gold. If you want more gold, you have to pour real energy, real labor, and real machinery into digging it out of the ground. But once you have that chunk of gold in your hand, that's it. It isn't anyone's promise. It's a real physical thing, a real asset. Now, let's flip that. Think about the dollars in your bank account. That number you see on your phone screen, that's not a stack of cash with your name on it in a vault somewhere. It's a financial asset. It is the bank's promise that they will give you money when you ask for it. It's their liability, and it's your asset. You see the difference? This distinction changes everything. All right, so we've got real assets and financial assets. You with me? Good. Because now we get to the most important concept of this entire explainer. In any money system, any of them, there's always one central nuclear asset right at the very core of it all. So the money that we all use day to day is actually a big mix of different things. But hidden in that mix at the very center is one very special asset. It's the foundation, the sun that everything else orbits around. And we call this the monetary base. There it is. There's one core money, and literally everything else we call money is just a substitute for it. These substitutes are all just promises to deliver that core money. This one relationship explains our entire financial system. Let's look at a super clear example. The gold standard makes this whole idea crystal clear. Back then, the monetary base, that core asset, was gold, a real asset. But, people weren't walking around with heavy gold coins in their pockets. Nope. They used substitutes, like paper banknotes or bank deposits. And what were those substitutes? Well, they were financial assets. They were just promises from a bank to give you a certain amount of gold if you came and asked for it. See? Super simple. One base and a bunch of substitutes. Now, believe it or not, that exact same structure, a core base with a bunch of substitutes built on top, is exactly how our money works today. But, and this is a huge but, something fundamental has changed. And here it is. This is the big switch. Under the gold standard, the base was a real asset, gold. Today, our monetary base is a financial asset. It's a liability of the central bank. Think about that for a second. Our entire system is now built on promises. Even the core nuclear money is a promise. And the money in your bank? Well, that's a promise to deliver that other promise. Okay, with all of that under our belts, we can finally go back to that question from the beginning and solve the mystery of M1, M2, and M3. And you're about to see how simple it actually is. So what are these things? It turns out they're not different kinds of money at all. They're just different ways of measuring the same money supply. All we're doing is drawing bigger and bigger circles around that core monetary base to include more and more of its substitutes. That's it. Okay, so here's how the layers work. You start with the monetary base, the core stuff. That's sometimes called M0. Then M1 adds in the best, most perfect substitutes, things you can spend instantly, like the money in your checking account. M2 adds the next layer out, things that are almost as good as cash, like a savings account. And M3 casts the net even wider. It's all about how easily and quickly you can turn one of these substitutes back into the core money. That's all those M's are telling you. So the money supply isn't just one thing. It's a layered system, kind of like a pyramid. At the very bottom, you have that one single nuclear monetary base. And everything else we think of as money is just another layer built on top of that foundation. So if you remember just one single thing from all of this, let it be this. Our entire financial world is built around one core monetary base. And pretty much everything else we call money is really just a copy, a substitute, a promise built on top of that one foundation. And that kind of leaves us with a final pretty big thought, doesn't it? We've seen how money evolved from a system built on a real physical thing, gold, to a system where the very foundation itself is a promise. And most of the money we use is a promise on top of that promise. So the big question is, what does it mean for the stability of our economy when the whole thing is built on a foundation of trust? It's definitely something worth thinking about. Thanks for joining me on this one.